And I would give you then this allegory, that you would know that I'm speaking symbolically and literally, from a reference point that is fairly historical, and from the vantage point also of that is ephemeral. But I speak of an alabaster box with its great sincerity, its openness in trust toward love, devotion, undying effort in rite and ritual, that opens not to each, but unto a select few, that ordains the time is readied, that we are prepared. Let it come then in this moment. And in that time, there was a woman who received the gift of an alabaster box, bought out of a marketplace for her along a trade route. After the passing of the caravans, still it remained waiting until she received it unto herself, a precious thing worth more in its importance than could be applied, a wedding gift uniting of two souls, becoming one in the presence of this token to become a treasure. And when her daughter came of age, the alabaster box was brought out and given to her with the instruction to fill it with only the most precious things, even the most costly. For the time would come when she would see the need made ready, and then would have the alabaster box. For many years it was kept, secreted away in a safe place. Eventually, costly oils, a perfume was placed in the alabaster box. What was the alabaster box but a translucent, shining thing that caught the light when it was brought out, but when it was hidden, it had no light and no life. Its opaqueness was as a mirage, for one could carefully see that it glowed from within. Mary remembered that box and carried it with her. And when they were gathered in the home of a very high-placed official and voice of the temple, she came as an uninvited guest and pushed past the door and those that were set there to watch that entrance. I'm speaking symbolically and literally. Her need was greater than etiquette would allow. She knew that a greater treasure was within that house, and to it she must come and there apply the treasure that she had kept for so long. And all were disturbed by her actions, for she was a woman with a reputation thereabout. Not one of their kind, not one to be received in their house, not one to be welcomed. But oh, the light in tear-stained eyes, coming unto that from whence she would receive release. Out of struggle, out of vanity, stepping into humility, she would come. And there at the feet of Sanandiasi Jesus, she opened her alabaster box and took the sweet perfume and oil and anointed him. In loud rebuke, voices rose, tempers were stirred. What does this mean? But he answered, she is preparing my body for burial. Then did she bathe his feet with her tears, even as through her the treasure began to grow. And the box set aside began to light the way. Each angle, each corner, no longer darkened, for in the midst thereof, this box, purpose was fulfilled. Where joy could abide, where time remissed was restored, where value was cast aside in the true light of purpose to solve a mystery and create another. And she wiped his feet with her hair. In such a devotion to find the self set free from the box, and yet the box to extend far beyond the confinement and boundaries that one might set of provincial thinking, etiquette tossed aside for the hardness necessary to reach that point in the universal understanding of genuine need. Was it applied? Not a ritual only, not a sacrament only, but an anointing, tearing aside that veil that separates one level, one class, one identity from another, and all becoming one, even with a question upon the tongue. performing a task and prophesying that the end would come in advance of its coming. Let us lift self in joy and expressions of great gladness, as with the holy oil of his redeeming quality. My faith looks up to thee, O Lamb of Calvary, Savior divine. Now hear me while I pray. Take all my sins away. That I might be then holy thine. Not to be equal, but allowed to sit at the feet. Not to be above any other, but equal with them. No longer being held without, but entrance within demanding. For I bring the oil of gladness, in which joy is made. I'll always remember the rather small alabaster box, for it held all the hope in the world, all the healing that was needed. All of the hopes of a young woman restored, renewed. And this she carried with her all the rest of her days. No longer secreting it away, but realizing this is my best. This is that I gave. For when you give of your best to the Master, and you give of the strength of your youth, when you throw your soul's fresh growing ardor into the fountain of truth, there are more than memories. There's the evidence of her actions. For her, it was an alabaster box. A mother's prayer, hope and wisdom, falling on generation after generation, continuing through the age, brings us again and again to the feet of the Master. For a mother's love can never forget you. With all that could be given, she was the first to give of her own treasure. Her gift became the first gift that was given in righteousness and was received and acknowledged. Preparing for that inevitable circumstance and happenstance, entrance, plan, whatever you wish to call it. Subdivide this for a moment in thought. Was it not? At the behest of that spirit within, that it was offered in such a precious way. Not in the street, not in the hovel, but in the great house. Whether she was accepted or not mattered not. But before the evening was over, everyone understood. And the acceptance was that upon which is marked the identity in the fabric, consistent with assuming the mantle, wearing the garment. Tied up with things of the past, wrapped in swaddling of grave clothes, waiting till that last moment to bid farewell with a priceless unguent or ointment. No. As he would pay the price, she also was willing. For contained within that box was her riches and her treasure. And when it was gone and expended, it returned again and again, as if that tiny vial could not be used up. Odors from the east, incense from the east, odors divine. Mark your way with steps toward divinity, beloved. For it is not the nature of man, but the right and purpose. Being blessed and having such treasures shared with you as have you in the past and shall you in the future. It is a legacy when you walk the way that he would have you walk. Show me not the sorrows of life, nor the inequities that merge only in the present to reveal the past. The inexclaimable to be, applauded through all time, his purpose and remembrance unrealized. Just the effort, just the continued effort. Is this enough, or is it not that a treasure promised to come shall surely arrive? That our day has not yet formed completely, and that tomorrow is brighter than we've ever known. It is if you're looking or living in a box, self-made. For that little box was carved out of one piece of alabaster. precious thing. And could we put all of our sorrows away in such a box, we would know no longer sorrows, indifferent, lingering. And if we could place all of our joys and expectations therein, it would be a joy forever. All you would have to do is open the box and breathe deeply. Perhaps everyone has such a container. Perhaps we are ourselves alabaster boxes. Perhaps we have allowed ourselves to be hidden away. And the time is right that we ourselves be revealed for the ritual, the sacrament, service.